this is the introduction to statistics. So suppose we ask the question, how much money do you have in your pocket? Ask two groups of students. We're going to be analyzing this data. We're going to introduce to some new statistics. So here's some vocabulary that you'll be using. You've done mean, median, and mode. Mean is your average, median is the middle number, and mode is the most often. Range is the difference between the lowest and highest number. Group A, the lowest value was $2 in their pocket. Somebody in that group had $8. In group B, somebody also had $2 in their pocket and another person had $8. So the range in both cases is the difference. 8 take away 2 is 6. So both groups have the same range. Some other vocabulary we're going to be talking about are outliers, line plots, quartiles. What's a box and whisker plot? What's a frequency distribution, histogram, and a frequency polygon? So these describe this data using numbers or pictures. The first thing we have to do is organize our data. Well, I've put the data in a group A table and a group B table. And I've listed the people in here in group A and what each of their amounts were. I've also sorted the amounts from lowest to highest. We're going to talk about the mean. The mean is the average. The numbers have been artificially chosen, but 2 and 8 is 10, 4 and 6 is 10, 5 and 5 and 10, and that is a 5 by itself. So I have 10, 20, 35 is the total. The average is 35 divided by 7, so the average here is 5. In this case, 2 and 8 is 10, 3 and 7 is 10, 3 and 7 is 10, so that's 10, 20, 30, and 5. Also the same total, divided by 7, also the same mean, 5. The median is the number that separates the group into two halves. So here we have 7 people. The middle number is the 4th person in each group. The median is 5. So 1, 2, 3, yes, it's the lower half. There's the 5 that splits the group from the upper half, 5, 6, and 8. Over here, the bottom 3 people are here. The 5 separates the bottom 3 from the top 3. So its median is also 5. Both groups have the same mean and the same median, yet we know that the numbers are different. If we were to describe the data using mean or the median, we wouldn't be able to distinguish between the two groups. So let's look at the mode. The mode is the most often occurring number. So in this group, I have 1, 2, 1, 4, 3 5s, 1, 6, and 1, 8. So if there are 3 5s in this one, so the mode for group A is 5. Over here I have 1, 2, 2 3s, 1 5, 2 7, and 1 8. So I've got 2 3s and 2 7s. So there are 2 modes for this second group B, a 3 and a 7. So here's the first indication that there's some variation between these two groups. And I'd like to explore a little bit about the variation by looking at the picture of the graph. A simple way to illustrate the distribution of the data is to draw a line plot for each of them. So I'm going to start a line plot for group A here and group B down here. So I'll start with A. At 2, there's 1 person, so I'll put a dot there. So $2, 1 dot, 1 person. And at $4, I have 1 person. At $5, I have 3 people. So, and I'll make them evenly spaced, 2, 3. And for $6, I have 1 person, or $8. Whoops, over $8. So I have nobody with $7, nobody with $3. It shows the distribution of group A's data. Now I'll do group B, and I'll do it quickly without comment. There we go. So it's all complete now. Looking at the data, we can see that in group A there's a cluster of numbers around 5. With group B we have 2 clusters, a lower end clustered around 3 and an upper end clustered around 7. That illustrates our 2 modes, 3 and 7. These are called line plots. From our line plots we can draw box and whisker plots. I've reorganized the data for group A and B. As we discussed before, this is the median. This is our minimum. This is our maximum. The median splits our data in half. If I look at the bottom half, there are three numbers here. And what's the number that splits the data into half again? The number that splits it is this 4. It's called the first quartile. The number that splits the top group of three numbers into two equal groups is this one, which is called the third quartile. And you're probably wondering what happened to the second quartile. Well, the second quartile is the median here. So let's just call it for convenience Q2. Or numbers that describe group A are 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8. The 5-number description, 2, 5, 6, and 8. And we're going to use this to draw our box and whisker plot. For our second group B, the minimum is 2, the first quartile is 3, the median is 5, the third quartile is 7, and the maximum is 8. And we can use this to draw our box and whisker plot. I'm just going to go back to our line plot and show you how these numbers work. So here's our line plots that we did before. We put a dot at the lowest value and the highest value, 8 in this case. We draw a vertical line at the median, which is here, and we draw vertical lines, little vertical lines at the first and third quartiles, here and here. This is our box, and the whiskers go from the lowest to the first quartile and from the third quartile to the highest for A. Here's the box and whisker plot for B. Distribution of our data in group B is much wider or more variable than in group A. 50% of the numbers are in this group between 4 and 6, whereas in this one, 50% of the numbers are between 3 and 7. So this is called the box and whisker plot. Here's another way to visualize the data. Group A had these numbers of dollars amounts in their pockets, and group B students had these number of dollars in their pocket. We're going to produce a frequency distribution, and I've listed the amounts here in order, and I've gone from 1 to 8. Frequency tables should have a minimum of 5 up to 12 lines. In this case, we have small sets of numbers, so I'll just keep them in groups of 1. In group A, nobody had $1. One person had a 2. One person had a 4, but no 3. 3 5s, 1 6, no 7, and 1 8. In group B, we had nobody with $1 in their pocket, one person with $2 in their pocket, 2 people with $3 in their pocket, nobody had 4, one person had 5, nobody had 6, and 2 had 7, and 1 had 8. So this is the frequency distribution. How frequently did the dollar amount occur for each? What we're going to draw now is a bar graph or a histogram. Here's the frequency distribution for the two groups. I'm going to draw the histogram for each of the group. So for group A, dollars in their pocket, if I look at the $2 line in group A, there's one person. Nobody had $3. One person, I made a mistake here, one person had $4. So there's the 1 right here, 1. 3 people had $5. Here's the 5, and there's 3 people. And one person had 6. Nobody had 7, and one person had 8. So I'm going to draw the bars in. In group A's histogram, the data is clustered around the 5, and it's mostly between the 4 and the 6. In histogram B, the data is clustered around the 3 and the 7. So you can see that the distribution is quite different. You can imagine a dot here, a dot here, 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 and here, and then we're going to draw the frequency. Here are the frequency polygons for the two groups of data. Group A has this distribution of the amounts. This number of people have these amounts in their pocket. In group B, we have these amount of people have this amount in their pocket. One other thing we should talk about are the outliers. I'm just going to give you an extreme example of outlier. Suppose in group A, we had the same distribution except for one person. And that day, that student, for some particular reason, had brought $100 to class. This would be called the outlier. And you need to decide whether that outlier 100 compared to all the rest of the data should be considered or not. So next class we're going to be practicing different sets of data using technology to analyze huge sets of numbers.